So, dear brothers and sisters, our first reading today is from the prophet Daniel, a very interesting reading. We actually cut it short, so we read about a third of it. There's a longer version and a shorter version. So we just read the shorter version, so we left out kind of all the intro. It's quite long. All you need to know is just these following lines. Basically, Susanna was quite an attractive lady, and apparently she was married. And so she used to bathe in the garden. I don't recommend it. Bathing in a garden is, I think, leaving things wide open for problems. Anyway, so she went bathing in the garden on a regular basis, it seems. And these two men were weak and unable to avert their eyes. Saw her on a few occasions and basically fell for her. Not only fell for her, but not in a romantic way, in a rotten kind of a way. These are their words. Look, they said, the garden door is shut. No one can see us. We want to have you. So give in and let us. If you refuse, we will both give evidence that a young man was here with you. And that's why you sent your maidservants away. So she said, I am trapped. Whatever I do, if I agree, it means my death. Why? Because she's married. If I resist, I cannot get away from you, because you will give two people giving testimony against me. So what should I do? And she said, well, I'd rather die innocent. So they accuse her, and then she's condemned to death. And then the reading kicks off where we heard Susanna was condemned to death by the whole assembly. And then Daniel is inspired by the Holy Spirit to ask, well, if he saw the whole situation so clearly, to ask each of the men separately, what tree did you see Susanna with this man under? What tree was it? And they both give different answers. Therefore, their story was made up, and they were probably slashed in half or something like that. Okay, the sentence that they wanted to fall on her fell on them, right? So, what is the point? What is the point of this reading? It's interesting. It's not much more than interesting. Wherever we put our treasure, there our heart is also. Jesus tells us this in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 6, verse 21, for example. There where our treasure is, there is our heart also. Now, that sounds like maybe a fairly innocuous kind of a statement. You know, whatever you like, that's where your heart is. The thing is, though, as we approach the end of our lives, and as you begin to see things like from God's perspective, hopefully, what is it that really matters? Like, say, for example, you're really, really good at golf. You know, and golf is one of the rare sports that you can actually play into your older years. Most, rugby, football, hurling, after 40 years of age, maybe you might manage a bit of junior B, but you won't be playing much hurling after that age. Golf you can play into your 70s, 80s maybe. So, let's say that's your thing. That gets you up in the morning, that gets you, it keeps you busy, and you watch the golf results, and you watch lots of videos on how to improve your swing, because that's the only move. There's only one move in golf, and it's that. And that's it. That's it. So how to improve your swing, and you watch all these videos, and you get really good at it, and you win a few medals, and you get on a few teams, and you do a bit of touring around the country, and all this kind of thing associated with golf. Okay, great. And then you die, which will happen to us all. And you find yourself before God. If that's what all your time went into, what do you have to show God when you get there? When all that's gone and finished, and you're standing there before God with a kind of a vague smile, and he says, where is the fruit of your life? I was good at golf. I was actually really good at golf. I got on all sorts of teams, got all sorts of medals and trophies. And God will say, golf? What's golf? Because it means nothing to him. It means nothing to him. He will ask you, what is the fruit of your life? Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't play golf or any sort of sport. What I'm saying is it's where our treasure is, there is our heart also. If we put our lives or put our hearts, put our effort into something, let it be something worthwhile. We can have these, sports and enjoy swimming and enjoy rock climbing or whatever else we do, great. I mean, there's no problem with these things. But if that's where our heart is, if this is our treasure, then that is where our heart is. And if our heart is anywhere but God, or maybe secondary to that is our heart can be in something that's at least loving. And people mightn't be aware that they're doing things for love of God, but they might be really good at loving people around them, loving the disabled or loving their families or loving difficult people or being wonderful nurses. They might be unaware, like they might necessarily consciously be doing this out of love for God, but they're doing something which does involve love. They're learning to love. And their life then becomes a constant expression of love. It's better if we do it kind of explicitly or consciously for God, but God sees the good actions that we do, the outpouring of our hearts and lives for the good of others. God sees that regardless of our faith, regardless of what religion we are. He sees the good we do. But if my life becomes so focused on, like in farming circles, for example, constantly buying more and more and more and more and more land, constantly expanding, or if you have a business and constantly expanding, and then what? You die. And then you find yourself before God. And do you think he's impressed by your bank balance? Or how you've managed to expand your franchise? Do you think he cares? Now, if in our business we give good, wholesome employment to people, that then they can provide security for their families and send them to school and university, that's a good thing, don't get me wrong. I mean, starting good businesses and being honest, wonderful. If that's what you're good at, knock yourself out. But this isn't what impresses God. That's not what impresses God. So it's just interesting, to see how these things can be all-encompassing. They can completely absorb us. But ultimately, we get what we chose. We get what we chose throughout our lives. And how horrific that will be if we've chosen anything but God. If our life was golf, if our life was farming, if our life was music, if our life was sport, at the expense or the cost of my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my children, if as a priest, my life is all about my career, just want that little purple hat, or the white one. Right? If that is my life, then so when I walk into a room, I look at it, you're unimportant. Your sister is a relation to the cardinal. Hi. And that's my whole life, just scanning who can help me get up the ladder. Alex, how are you doing? Yeah, how are you doing? First cousin of the bishop. And all that sort of stuff. If that is my life, when I die, and I will, and I find myself before God, do you think he's going to be impressed by any of it? Of course not. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Nothing is covered up. Jesus says, nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. Therefore, whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light. Whatever you've whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops. Now that works both ways. It means all of those wonderful hidden prayers, all of those silent tears for family members that we care about that maybe aren't practicing anymore, all of those situations where maybe we felt lonely because we didn't go out with everyone else and get hammered drunk, the situations where we chose virtue and that cost us something and nobody else saw it. All those situations, they're declared from the housetops. God saw them. God knows the value of them. They were seen by him. He has weighed their value. He knows what they're worth. Conversely, all that pent up vanity and use of other people, all that self-realization, all that selfishness for our career and our name and our glory, and that too will be declared from the housetops. And how empty a declaration it will be. The Lord does know what he's doing. In our reading, when we see how these men just became so perverse, so obsessed with this lady that they wanted her at all costs. Doesn't matter what God's law was, doesn't matter what civil law was, none of that mattered. We want you. And they're willing to lie and deceive and connive and collaborate in order to put this woman to death. I mean, that's not love. Sleep with us or we'll have you killed. That wasn't love, that's use. And indeed it was declared from the housetops. Now, if it hadn't happened according to their law, how would their souls have been as they stood before God? All that we do, the good and the bad, it makes up who we are before God. And he's just not impressed by so many things that we think are important. If you've ever flown over a city, when you fly to Ireland, sometimes you might fly over London. Normally you can't see much of it. But if you ever land in Chicago is such a flat city. You're flying over Chicago quite low for ages before you touch down in O'Hare. So you're flying over millions of people. London is a huge city. Like if you're flying into London, similarly, you're flying over millions of people. So like from your plane way up there, you're from your 737 looking down. Does it matter that tiny, tiny lady has a 0.5 milliliter of lip filler in her top lip? Does that matter? Does anybody care from this plane if she has lip filler in or not? It makes no difference. It just doesn't matter. The things that we think are so important, are saving up for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 4 weeks in order to pay for that. Does it matter? Before God, does it matter? No, not a bit. All the things that we think are so important, our snazzy runners and our Birkenstocks and all these kind of things. Before God, do they matter? No, they don't even begin to matter. They have no eternal value whatsoever. Don't get me wrong, a bit of cosmetics, whatever, do it if you need to. But it's like just before God, it just means nothing. Just means nothing. What does he see? He sees every action, every occasion that we've chosen to love another, to put the other's needs above our own, to see that something I can have, but maybe I choose not to in favor of God's will. I choose to make a hidden sacrifice that no one will see. I choose to be faithful to him. I choose prayer when I could be watching TV. I choose to put down the phone, even though in theory I could be playing a game, because I've done a full 7 minutes work today, so I deserve it. And I choose not to. God sees all of that. Let us not be concerned about what people think of us, but far more concerned about what God thinks. May we place our lives and all of our actions today in his hands. For there where our treasure is, there will our heart be also. Amen.